Admiral Kixthara stood before the massive viewing screen in her command ship, watching the blue planet slowly rotate below. Earth looked peaceful from this distance. Green and brown patches covered the surface between white clouds. The third planet from a yellow star seemed ordinary, but Kixthara knew looks could fool anyone. Her scales shifted from deep purple to excited orange as she thought about the entertainment value this world would bring. The Zephyrian Empire had ruled the galaxy for over 3,000 years. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and destroyed dozens of species, but somewhere along the way, conquest had become boring. Victory was too easy when your technology was so advanced. That's when some clever Zephyrian had invented the extinction streams. Why simply destroy a species when you could turn their death into entertainment? The broadcasts brought in massive profits and kept the empire's citizens happy. Watching primitive species struggle and die had become the most popular form of entertainment in Zephyrian space. Kixthara had personally overseen 17 extinction streams. Each one had been more successful than the last. The key was finding the right species. They needed to be smart enough to understand their doom, but weak enough to make the fight interesting. Too stupid, and viewers got bored. Too advanced, and the show ended too quickly. Humans seemed perfect. The scanning ships had been watching Earth for months now. The reports were promising. Humans were violent creatures who fought constantly among themselves. They had split their world into different groups, called nations, that regularly went to war. Their weapons were primitive. They still used projectiles and explosives. They had barely reached their own moon, let alone other worlds. Admiral called out Communications Officer Velter from his station. His blue skin was pale with excitement. The preliminary audience numbers are incredible. Over 40 billion Zephyrians have already signed up for viewing packages. The betting markets are going crazy. Kixthara's mandibles clicked in pleasure. 40 billion viewers for the opening show was a new record. The entertainment executives would be thrilled. More importantly, her own reputation would grow. Successful extinction stream commanders became legends in the Empire. What are the current betting odds? She asked. Velter checked his screens. Most bets are on total human extinction within 6 months. The popular bet is that Earth itself will surrender after we destroy their outer colonies. Humans seem too emotional and attached to each other. Break them psychologically first, then finish them off. The strategy made sense. Humans lived on several worlds in their system. They had small colonies on their red planet Mars and some moons. Start there, broadcast the destruction. Let fear spread back to Earth. Watch them panic and beg, then close in for the final show. Sir, interrupted sensor technician Dexy. We're detecting unusual energy readings from the human homeworld. Kixthara turned toward the sensor station. What kind of readings? Power generation spikes across the planet, much higher than we've seen before. Also, their communication traffic has increased by 300% in the last day. The Admiral considered this information. Fear often made primitive species more active. They probably knew something was coming. Their instruments might have detected the Zephyrian scout ships. Let them panic. It would make better entertainment. Our They trying to contact us? Kixthara asked. No, sir. All communication seems to be internal. Between their different nations and colonies. Perfect. They were probably arguing among themselves about what to do. Humans seem to love fighting each other almost as much as they feared outside threats. The broadcasts would show their governments falling apart, their people running in chaos, their military forces scattered and confused. Begin Phase 1, Kixthara ordered. Target the outer colonies first. I want full video coverage of every attack. Make sure the cameras capture individual human faces. Viewers love to see the fear in their eyes. The massive Zephyrian fleet spread out across the human solar system. 200 warships, each one capable of destroying a planet. For this mission, they wouldn't need that much firepower. The humans had nothing that could threaten even a single Zephyrian vessel. On the main screen, camera feeds began showing human settlements, small domed cities on Mars, mining stations on asteroids, a research base on one of the gas giant's moons. All of them would be gone within hours. The humans inside didn't know it yet, but they were about to become the opening act for the greatest show in the galaxy. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Earth. Velter announced. Put it through. Let's hear what they have to say. A human face appeared on the screen, male with short brown hair and lines around his eyes that suggested age. He wore what looked like a military uniform. Behind him, Kixthara could see other humans working frantically at control stations. This is Admiral Chen of United Earth Defense, the human said. His voice was calm, which surprised Kixthara. Most species begged or threatened at this point. We know who you are and why you're here. Interesting. The humans seemed to understand the situation. We've seen your broadcasts from other worlds, Admiral Chen continued. We know you plan to kill us slowly for entertainment. We know you think we're weak and primitive. Kixthara gestured for Velter to open a channel. You are correct, human. Your species will provide excellent entertainment for the Zephyrian Empire. If you surrender now, we might consider keeping some of you alive as pets. Human Admiral stared directly into the camera. His expression didn't change. We have one response to your ultimatum. He leaned forward slightly. The control room behind him had gone completely silent. Every human face visible in the background was turned toward their Admiral. Come and try. Transmission ended. Kixthara stared at the blank screen for a moment. Then she began laughing. The sound filled the bridge, a harsh clicking noise that made her crew shift nervously. Did you record that? She asked Velter. Yes, sir. Good, the viewers will love it. Primitive bravado makes the eventual breaking so much sweeter. Begin the attacks on the outer colonies. Let's show these humans what happens when they refuse the mercy of the Zephyrian Empire. As her fleet moved into attack positions, Kixthara felt that familiar thrill of beginning a new show. 40 billion viewers were waiting to see humans die. She wouldn't disappoint them. The blue planet continued to rotate peacefully below. But Admiral Kixthara noticed something strange. The energy readings from Earth were still climbing. The first attack began at exactly 800 Galactic Standard Time. Kixthara had planned it perfectly for maximum audience impact across different Time zones in the Zephyrian Empire. Prime viewing hours meant higher advertising rates and better profit. Margin, 3 Zephyrian destroyers approached the human colony on Mars. The settlement was small, maybe 50,000. Humans living in connected domed structures. They had built their colony in a crater to protect it from the planet's harsh storms. It wouldn't protect them from what was coming. Camera teams, are you ready? Kexthara asked, all recording systems active. Admiral, came the reply from the broadcast coordinator. We have 17 different camera angles covering the colony. Close-ups of civilian areas, wide shots of the destruction, and personal cameras on our boarding teams. The Zephyrian Empire had turned warfare into art. Professional camera crews followed every military operation. The best footage would be edited into highlight reels. The most dramatic human deaths would be played on repeat across entertainment networks. Begin the attack. Remember, we want fear first. Hit their power systems and communications. Let them realize they're trapped before we start killing them. The first energy beam struck the Mars colony's power generators. Lights went out across the settlement. Emergency lighting flickered on, casting red shadows through the transparent dome. Sections of humans began running through the corridors, their panic clearly visible on the camera feeds across the Zephyrian Empire. Billions of viewers watch the show begin in comfortable homes on hundreds of worlds. Zephyrian families gathered around their screens to watch humans die. Children pointed and laughed at the running figures. Adults placed new bets on how long the colony would last. Sir, we're receiving communications from the colony, Velter reported. Let's hear. They're begging, Kexthara said. Colony's distress signal came through. Clearly, a human woman, probably in her 30s, spoke into a handheld communicator. Behind her, other humans were evacuating children through emergency tunnels. This is Dr. Sarah Martinez, Mars Research Colony. 1. We are under attack by unknown vessels. Repeat. We are under attack. They've disabled our power grid and defensive systems. We have civilians, including 300 children. Please, if anyone receives this transmission, tell Earth what happened here. The transmission cut off as Zephyrin boarding teams entered the colony. The cameras followed them through the corridors, recording everything. Humans tried to fight back with primitive weapons, rifles that fired metal projectiles. The bullets bounced harmlessly off Zephyrin armor. What happened next was broadcast live across the galaxy. The systematic killing of every human in the colony took 4 hours. The cameras captured it all. Fear, desperation, final moments of defiance, and eventual death. The boarding teams were efficient but not quick. The show had to last long enough for viewers to become invested. When it was over, 50,000 humans were dead. The cameras panned across the empty colony, focusing on personal items left behind. Children's toys, family pictures, unfinished research projects. The human tragedy made good television. Excellent work, Kexthara told her crew. Begin. Phase 2. Hit the asteroid mining stations, but something was bothering the Admiral as the fleet moved toward the asteroid belt. Sensor readings from Earth continued to show unusual activity, power generation, had increased by another 40% since the attack on Mars began. Communication. Traffic between Earth and its remaining colonies had become incredibly heavy. Velter, are we intercepting any human transmissions? Some, Admiral. But they're using new encryption codes, much more sophisticated than what we saw in our initial scans. How sophisticated? Velter looked uncomfortable. Our code breakers are having trouble with it. The encryption seems to change every few minutes. It's almost like they knew we were listening and prepared countermeasures. That was impossible. The initial scans had shown humans using simple communication methods, radio waves, basic data compression, primitive security protocols. They were barely more advanced than animals. They couldn't have developed military-grade encryption overnight. Keep trying to break their codes. I want to know what they're saying. Attacks continued. 3 asteroid mining stations were destroyed over the next 6 hours. Each one was smaller than the Mars colony, but the deaths were just as thoroughly documented. The cameras showed human miners fighting with mining equipment turned into makeshift weapons. Drill lasers and explosive charges were no match for Zephyrin technology. The broadcasts were breaking all viewership records. Entertainment executives sent congratulations to Admiral Kexthara. Betting markets were going wild as viewers wagered on everything from total human casualties to which Earth nation would surrender first. But the human response was beginning to worry some of Kexthara's officers. Admiral said, Commander Rickson, the fleet's tactical officer, the humans aren't responding the way we expected. What do you mean? Previous species would be trying to negotiate by now. They'd be sending peace offers, begging for mercy, or attempting to flee their home system. The humans have done none of these things. They've evacuated their remaining outer colonies, but they're not running away. They're pulling back toward Earth. Kexthara studied the tactical displays. Commander Rickson was right. The humans were evacuating their smaller settlements and concentrating their population around their home world. It looked almost like they were preparing for a siege. Maybe they're gathering their forces for one final desperate stand, she suggested. Some species prefer to die together rather than be hunted down individually. Perhaps, Admiral, but their evacuation is too organized, too efficient. Look at these movement patterns. The commander highlighted several transport routes on the main screen. Human ships were moving between worlds in coordinated patterns. Cargo vessels, passenger transports, and what appeared to be construction ships were all following carefully planned schedules. This level of coordination requires sophisticated command and control systems. Rickson continued. Our initial scans suggested humans were divided into competing nations, but this looks like unified command structure. Something was definitely wrong. Kexthara had overseen 17 extinction streams. She knew how primitive species were supposed to behave when faced with overwhelming force. They panicked. They scattered. They begged. They certainly didn't organize efficient evacuations while maintaining radio silence. Admiral, incoming transmission from the human home world. Velter announced. Another surrender offer. No, sir. It's addressed specifically to you. Admiral Chen appeared on the screen again. This time he was standing in what looked like a military command center. Dozens of humans worked at computer stations behind him. Large displays showed star charts and tactical information. Admiral Kixthara, Chin said, pronouncing her name perfectly despite the clicking sounds that humans shouldn't be able to make. Thank you for the demonstration. We've learned much about your weapons and tactics from your attacks on our outer settlements. Learned from attacks. What was this human talking about? Chen continued. Our technical teams have analyzed the wreckage from your weapons. Impressive technology, but not as advanced as we initially thought. Your energy weapons operate on principles we discovered 40 years ago. Your armor plating uses materials we've been mining from asteroids for decades. The human admiral leaned closer to the camera. You should know that the outer colonies were evacuated before your attacks began. Every person you killed volunteered to stay behind. They knew they would die, but they wanted Earth to learn how you fight. Kixthara felt her scales shift to deep red, the zephyrin color of extreme alarm. Impossible. Our scans showed full populations in those colonies. Your scans showed what we wanted them to show, Chen replied calmly. We've been watching your empire for longer than you think. We know about your entertainment industry. We know about your extinction streams. We've seen what you did to other species. The transmission paused as Chen looked at something off screen. When he turned back, his expression had hardened. The galaxy has suffered under your cruelty for too long, but that ends now. The screen went dark, leaving Kixthara staring at her own reflection in the black display. Around her, the bridge crew worked frantically at their stations. Warning lights began flashing as new sensor data came in. Admiral called out sensor technician Dex I, his voice tight with fear. I'm detecting massive energy signatures around Earth. Ships, Admiral. Hundreds of ships. Kixthara turned toward the main tactical display, and what she saw made her blood run cold. The tactical display showed something that violated everything Kixthara thought she knew about human capabilities. Where there should have been empty space around Earth, sensors now detected over 600 vessels, human ships, but nothing like the primitive craft they had observed during the initial scans. These ships were massive. The smallest ones were the size of Zephyrin cruisers. The largest appeared to be dreadnoughts that matched the Zephyrin Empire's most powerful warships. They moved in perfect formation around Earth, their hulls dark and angular, designed for war rather than intimidation. How is this possible? Kixthara demanded. Our scans showed no fleet capability. Where did these ships come from? Our scans showed no fleet capability. Sensor technician Dex I worked frantically at his console, his 6 arms moving across multiple control surfaces simultaneously. Admiral, I'm detecting energy signatures that shouldn't exist. Some of these vessels are generating power levels that exceed our own dreadnoughts. Check your instruments. Human technology can't match ours. I've run every diagnostic. The readings are accurate. Admiral, some of these ships are bigger than our command vessel. Kixthara stared at the display, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing. Across the Zephyrin Empire, billions of viewers who had tuned in to watch humanity's destruction were now watching their own fleet face an impossible enemy. The entertainment broadcasts had become confused, panicked. Reporting, camera crews aboard Zephyrin. Ships were no longer focusing on human suffering, instead they were recording the fear and confusion of Zephyrin personnel as they tried to understand what was happening. Admiral, communications officer, Velter called out, his voice shaking. The humans are broadcasting on all frequencies. It's being transmitted directly to our home worlds somehow, bypassing our communication networks. What are they saying? It's not words, sir, it's data. Technical specifications, weapon capabilities, tactical information. They're telling our entire empire exactly how they're going to destroy our fleet. Before Kexthara could respond, Admiral Chen's face appeared on every screen throughout the bridge. But this wasn't a normal transmission. The humans had somehow hacked directly into the Zephyrin ship's internal systems. Admiral Kexthara, Chen said, his voice now coming from speakers throughout the ship. I thought you should understand what you're facing before we begin. Quote, behind Chen, the command center had transformed. What Kexthara had assumed was a primitive military installation now revealed itself as something far more advanced. Holographic displays showed real-time positions of every Zephyrian ship in the system. Tactical computers were running attack simulations that updated faster than Zephyrian equipment could calculate. 43 years ago, Chen continued, one of our deep space monitoring stations detected your scout ships observing our system. We knew then that contact with your empire was inevitable. We also knew from studying the wreckage of other civilizations exactly what kind of contact it would be. The display behind Chen changed to show technical diagrams, Zephyrian weapon designs, analyzed and understood down to the smallest component. We've been preparing for this day ever since. Every piece of technology you used in your attacks on our outer colonies was immediately analyzed and reverse engineered. Your energy weapons, your shields, your propulsion systems, we understood them all within hours. Kexthara felt sick. The outer colony attacks hadn't been shows of Zephyrian superiority. They had been learning exercises for the humans. Chen's expression hardened. But we didn't just copy your technology, Admiral. We improved it. Human engineers have a saying, anything can be made better. Your weapons fire focused energy beams at specific frequencies. Ours fire across a broader spectrum at higher intensity. Your shields deflect energy. Ours absorb it and redirect it back at the attacker. The technical displays showed side-by-side comparisons. Human weapons that generated twice the power of Zephyrian equivalents. Armor that could withstand direct hits from the Empire's most powerful guns. Ships that moved faster and more efficiently than anything in the Zephyrian fleet. Impossible, Kexthara whispered. Your species is primitive. You barely reached your own moon. Chen heard her somehow, despite the transmission being one way. That's what we wanted you to think, Admiral. Humans achieved faster than light travel. 51 years ago, we've been exploring the galaxy for decades. We've seen what your empire does to other species. We've studied your tactics, your technology, your weaknesses. The camera angle widened to show the full scope of the human command center. Hundreds of personnel worked at advanced computer systems. Multiple screens showed live feeds from locations throughout the Zephyrian Empire, their home worlds. their military bases, their production facilities. We know about every ship in your fleet, Admiral. We know about your entertainment industry and your betting markets. We know that 40 billion of your citizens are watching this broadcast right now, expecting to see humans die. Chen paused, looking directly into the camera. They're going to see death today, but not human death. Warning. Alarms began screaming throughout the Zephyrian command ship. Tactical Officer Rickson shouted over the noise. Admiral, the human fleet is moving. They're taking attack formations. On the main display, the human ship spread out in patterns that demonstrated tactical sophistication far beyond what any primitive species should possess. They moved like predators, surrounding the Zephyrian fleet with mathematical precision. All ships battle stations. Kextera ordered, prepare for combat. Show these humans why the galaxy fears the Zephyrian Empire. The first exchange of fire began moments later. 20 Zephyrian destroyers opened fire. Simultaneously, their energy beams converging on the nearest human vessel. The concentrated firepower should have vaporized any ship in the galaxy. Instead, the human ship's shields absorbed every blast. The energy discharges danced across its hull like harmless lightning, then redirected back toward the Zephyrian ships. 3 destroyers exploded instantly. Their own weapons turned against them. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Zephyrian weapons proved ineffective against human defenses, while human weapons cut through Zephyrian shields like they didn't exist. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries were destroyed in seconds. The entertainment broadcasts had become horror shows. Zephyrian viewers watched their invincible fleet being systematically dismantled by a species they had considered primitive animals. Panic spread across the empire as citizens realized the truth. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the predator. Admiral, Velter screamed. Half our fleet is gone. Our weapons can't penetrate their defenses. Keck Stara stared at the tactical display in disbelief. In less than 10 minutes, the Zephyrian Empire had lost over 100 ships. The humans had lost nothing. Their vessels moved through the battlefield like dancers, avoiding return fire while systematically destroying everything in their path. Admiral Chen's voice came over the communication system again. You made one critical mistake, Admiral Kextera. You assumed that because we were different from you, we were inferior to you. You never considered that we might be superior. Another wave of human ships decloaked around the Zephyrian fleet. Hundreds more vessels, even larger than the first group. They had been hiding, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. The Zephyrian Empire ends today, Chen announced. Every world that participated in genocide entertainment will be held accountable. Every citizen who watched other species die for pleasure will face judgment. Your reign of terror is over. As Keck Stara watched her fleet being destroyed, she realized the horrible truth. The humans hadn't just been preparing for this battle, they had been preparing for war against the entire Zephyrian Empire. The last transmission from Admiral Chen came as Keck Stara's own ship shuddered under human weapons. Fire, you turned the deaths of innocents into entertainment. Now the galaxy will watch your empire burn. News of the disaster at Earth spread across the Zephyrian Empire faster than Light-speed communication. Within hours, every world in Zephyrian space knew that their invincible fleet had been destroyed. Admiral Kextera was dead. Her command ship had been torn apart by human weapons that seemed to ignore the laws of physics, but humans didn't stop with victory at Earth. They pursued. High Commander Velmaxis received the first reports while attending a victory celebration on the capital world of Zephyr Prime. The entertainment executives had prepared massive party to celebrate the beginning of humanity's extinction. The finest foods, the most expensive drinks, and viewing screens showing highlights from the planned destruction of human colonies. The party ended when human ships appeared in the Zephyr Prime system. How many? Velmaxis demanded as he rushed to the planetary defense headquarters. Over 2,000 vessels, sir, replied the defense coordinator, her voice shaking. They appeared all at once, like they were waiting in some kind of invisible formation. Some are 2,000 ships. The disaster at Earth had involved only 600 human vessels, and they had destroyed a fleet of 200 Zephyrian warships without losses. Now, humanity had brought 3 times as many ships to the Empire's capital. Have they made any demands, any attempt to negotiate? No, sir, they're just sitting there surrounding the planet. But, sir, they're broadcasting something. The main screen activated, showing Admiral Chen's face once again. But this time he wasn't alone. Beside him stood other humans wearing similar uniforms, each one representing a different aspect of human military command. Citizens of Zephyr Prime, Chen began, his voice transmitted simultaneously to every communication device on the planet. For 3,000 years, your empire has entertained itself with the suffering of others. You have turned genocide into art, extinction into entertainment, and the deaths of innocents into profit. Behind the human commander's screens showed footage from dozens of Zephyrian entertainment broadcasts, images of species being hunted to extinction, children being separated from families, entire worlds being sterilized while Zephyrian audiences cheered. 40 billion of you watched our colonies burn. You bet money on how long our people would survive. You laughed at children crying for their parents. You made entertainment from our pain. Chen's voice remained calm, but his words carried a weight that made every Zephyrian listening feel cold fear creeping up their spines. Today you learn what judgment feels like. Human fleet began its attack with surgical precision. Instead of destroying the planet, immediately they targeted specific installations. The entertainment industry's broadcast centers went first. Massive production facilities that had created genocide programming for centuries were reduced to ash in minutes. But the humans weren't content with destroying buildings. They were hunting people. Every entertainment executive who had profited from extinction streams found themselves targeted individually. Human soldiers wearing armor that made them nearly invisible appeared in offices and homes across the planet. The same executives who had planned humanity's destruction for maximum audience impact now became the targets of their own entertainment philosophy. The humans documented everything. High-definition cameras recorded each death, each moment of fear, each desperate plea for mercy. The footage was broadcast across the entire Zephyrian Empire, transmitted through communication networks that the Humans had somehow infiltrated. Completely. They're using our own entertainment systems against us. Velmaxis realized with horror. They're making us watch our own people die, but Zephyr Prime was only the beginning. Human fleets appeared simultaneously throughout the Empire, striking at dozens of worlds at once. Their coordination was perfect, their intelligence incredible, their efficiency terrifying. Most shocking was their strategic doctrine intercepted communications, revealed humanity's true intentions. Complete species elimination, total extinction is the only guarantee against future genocide. Read 1 captured. Human military document. A species that creates entertainment from the deaths of others cannot be reformed, only eliminated. The humans had studied Zephyrin culture and concluded that it was irredeemably evil. Every Zephyrin citizen who had participated in genocide entertainment, who had bet on extinction streams, who had profited from suffering, was marked for death. They fought with a precision that made Zephyrin military tactics look clumsy. Human ships moved like they could predict the future, avoiding defensive fire while delivering attacks that penetrated the strongest shields. Their weapons seemed designed specifically to counter every piece of Zephyrin technology. Sir, reported intelligence officer Nixtara from the command bunker deep beneath Zephyr Prime. We've analyzed the human attack patterns. They're not just destroying our military, they're systematically eliminating our entire civilization. What do you mean? They've targeted our industrial centers, our research facilities, our educational institutions, our cultural sites. They're not conquering our worlds, sir. They're sterilizing them. The tactical display showed the scope of human operations across Zephyrin space. Every major world was under attack. Every military installation was being destroyed. Every population center was being systematically cleared. But most terrifying was how the humans treated Zephyrin civilians. There was no random killing, no chaos, no uncontrolled violence. Instead, there were lists. Somehow the humans had identified every Zephyrin citizen who had participated in genocide entertainment. They had names, addresses, viewing histories, betting records. They knew exactly who had watched which extinction streams and how much money each person had spent on genocide gambling. Those individuals were hunted down with mechanical efficiency. Zephyrins who had never participated in the entertainment industry were given a choice: exile from their home worlds or death alongside their guilty neighbors. They're giving our people a chance to live, Velmaxis said as he studied the reports. Only the innocent ones, sir. They've somehow determined which of our citizens were involved in their genocide entertainment and which weren't. That was impossible. Participation in extinction streams was supposed to be anonymous. Betting records were encrypted. Viewing histories were private. How could the humans possibly know which individuals Zephyrins had watched their colonies burn? The answer came in another broadcast from Admiral Chen. This time, he stood before what appeared to be massive computer facility. Thousands of human technicians worked at stations processing enormous amounts of data. You thought your entertainment was anonymous, Chen said, addressing the Zephyrin Empire directly. You believed your betting was private. You assumed your viewing records were Secret. The camera panned across screens showing detailed profiles of individual Zephyrins, names, faces, complete viewing histories, financial records, personal communications. The humans had somehow accessed every database in the Empire. We've been inside your networks for 40 years, Chen continued. Every transaction, every communication, every entertainment choice has been recorded and analyzed. We know exactly which of your people participated in genocide entertainment and which opposed it. Behind Chen, screens showed statistics that made Velmaxis's blood run cold. 87% of the Zephyrin Empire's adult population had actively participated in extinction stream entertainment. Only 13% had never viewed the programs or placed bets on genocide. Justice requires precision, Chen explained. We will not punish the innocent for the crimes of the guilty, but we will ensure that those who turned suffering into entertainment face appropriate consequences. Human ships continued their systematic destruction of Zephyrin civilization. World after world fell to their superior technology and perfect coordination. Military resistance was useless. The humans had studied every aspect of Zephyrin warfare and developed countermeasures for everything. Even worse, they had clearly planned this campaign for decades. Human logistics were flawless. Their supply lines seemed infinite. They fought like a species that had been preparing for total war since before Kixtara's fleet had ever reached Earth. Sir, Nextara reported, her voice barely a whisper. I'm receiving surrender offers from 12 different star systems. Military commanders are abandoning their posts. Entire planetary governments are trying to negotiate. Have the humans responded to any surrender offers? No, sir. They're not accepting surrender. That was when Velmaxis finally understood the true scope of what was happening. The humans hadn't come to conquer the Zephyrin Empire. They hadn't come to force a peace treaty or demand reparations. They had come to ensure that the Zephyrin Empire ceased to exist. The species that had once ruled through fear was learning what true terror felt like as their entire civilization was systematically dismantled by enemies who had once seemed like primitive animals. And somewhere in the depths of space, more human fleets were still coming. The last Zephyrin stronghold was a massive space station called Deep Void Base, hidden in the darkness between star systems. For 200 years, it had served as the Empire's final fallback position, a secret fortress that could coordinate resistance even if all the home worlds fell. High Commander Velmaxis had escaped there with the surviving members of the Zephyrin High Command. 50,000 military personnel, government officials, and their families had gathered at the station, representing the last remnants of a civilization that had once ruled 300 worlds. They thought they were safe. Deep Void Base had been built using the Empire's most advanced stealth technology. It was invisible to most sensors, powered by carefully shielded reactors that produced no detectable energy signature. The location was known only to the highest levels of Zephyrin Command. The humans found it in 3 days. Sir, contact on long-range sensors, reported the station's sensor operator, his voice tight with disbelief. It's a human fleet, over 5,000. Vessels, 5,000 ships had come to destroy 50,000 Zephyrins. It was massive overkill, even by human standards, but Velmaxis was beginning to understand that humans didn't take chances when it came to ensuring their enemies' complete destruction. How did they find us? Demanded General Kextara, the station's military commander. Unknown, sir. Our stealth systems show no failures. We're generating no detectable signatures. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the main communication screen without any incoming transmission being detected. Somehow, the humans had penetrated even the station's internal communication networks. High Commander Velmaxis, Chen said, his image clear and stable. Despite the impossible method of transmission, we meet again. Velmaxis stepped forward to address the human admiral. How did you find this base? Our location was classified at the highest levels. Commander, we've had complete access to your computer networks for 40 years. There is no Zephyrin secret we don't know, no base we can't find, no hiding place that will protect your people from judgment. Behind Chen, the human command center showed tactical displays with detailed plans of Deep Void base. Not just external views, but complete internal schematics showing every corridor, every room, every defensive system. The humans knew the station better than its own builders. We offer surrender, Velmaxis said desperately. Complete surrender. We'll disband our empire, abandon our territory, accept any terms you demand. Chen's expression didn't change. Commander, you oversaw the genocide entertainment industry for 15 years. You personally approved the extinction of 12 different species. You turned the deaths of children into profit margins. That was military policy. I was following orders. No, Commander. You were following profit projections. We've seen your personal communications. You boasted about developing new ways to maximize audience suffering. You invented betting categories based on how long children would survive separation from their parents. The display behind Chen changed to show documents that made Velmaxis's stomach turn. His own emails, planning sessions, and financial records from his time managing the entertainment division. Everything he thought had been destroyed or classified was laid out for the entire galaxy to see. You made genocide into art, Chen continued. You turned extinction into entertainment. You built an entire economy around the suffering of innocents. We can change. The Zephyrian Empire can reform. Chen leaned forward slightly. No, Commander. You cannot change. We've studied your species for decades. We've analyzed your culture, your psychology, your fundamental values. The capacity for empathy required to avoid genocide simply doesn't exist in your people. That's not true. 87% of your adult population actively participated in genocide entertainment. Of the remaining 13%, most opposed it only because they found it boring, not because they considered it morally wrong. Less than 2% of your species showed genuine empathy for your victims. The numbers hit Velmaxis like physical blows. He wanted to argue, but the humans had been watching Zephyrian society for 40 years. Their data was probably correct. Species that creates entertainment from genocide cannot be reformed, Chen said, his voice carrying the finality of a death sentence. It can only be eliminated. But we have families here, children who never hurt anyone, yes. We know exactly who is on that station. Commander, 47,000 adults who participated in genocide entertainment. 3,000 children under the age of responsibility. The human admiral paused, looking at something off screen. When he continued, his tone had softened slightly. The children will be spared. They will be relocated to worlds settled by other species who have agreed to raise them away from Zephyrian culture. They will grow up learning empathy, compassion, and respect for life, and the adults will face the same fate they planned for humanity. The human fleet began its final attack with ceremonial precision. Instead of simply destroying the station, they systematically its life support system. The Zephyrians inside would die slowly, just as they had planned for countless other species. But there was a difference. The humans weren't turning this into entertainment. There were no cameras broadcasting the deaths, no betting pools, no audience cheering for suffering. The execution was carried out with grim efficiency, documented only for historical records. As the station's atmosphere began to vent into space, Velmaxis made one final transmission to the galaxy. To anyone receiving this broadcast, he said, his voice distorted by the failing communication systems. We thought we were the predators in this galaxy. We thought fear made us powerful. We thought suffering made us strong. Lights flickered as power systems failed. Throughout the station, around him, Zephyrian personnel worked frantically to save their families, to find some way to survive the methodical destruction of their last refuge. We were wrong. We found something worse than us. We found something that taught us to fear. We found humanity. Velmaxis looked directly into the camera for his final words. We taught them to hate us, and they learned the lesson perfectly. Oh, the transmission ended as deep void bass broke apart, taking the last remnants of the Zephyrian Empire into the darkness of space. In the aftermath, human ships spread throughout what had once been Zephyrian territory. But they didn't come as conquerors. They came as liberators, freeing worlds that had been enslaved by the Empire for centuries. The occupied species were given their freedom and the technology to rebuild their civilizations. Admiral Chen's final broadcast was transmitted to every inhabited world in the galaxy. He stood before a podium in what appeared to be a vast assembly hall. Behind him, representatives from hundreds of different species gathered to witness humanity's declaration to the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire is extinct, Chen announced. Every world that participated in genocide entertainment has been held accountable. Every individual who profited from the suffering of others has faced judgment. But let this serve as a warning to any other species that considers following their path. Humanity will not tolerate genocide. We will not allow the strong to prey upon the weak for entertainment. We will not permit the innocent to suffer while others watch and laugh. The camera pulled back to show the full scope of the assembly. Thousands of representatives from species across the galaxy, all listening to humanity's new doctrine. We do not seek to rule this galaxy. We do not desire conquest or expansion, but we will patrol the trade routes. We will monitor communications. We will watch for signs of genocide and extinction. Any species that commits genocide will be hunted to extinction. Any civilization that turns suffering into entertainment will be eliminated. Any people who profit from the deaths of innocents will face the same fate they plan for others. This is not a threat, this is a promise. The broadcast ended with images of human ships taking up patrol positions throughout the galaxy. Black vessels marked with symbols representing the destroyed colonies, each one a reminder of the price paid for underestimating humanity. Other alien civilizations across the galaxy frantically reviewed their own histories, terrified of what humanity might discover about their past. Conflicts. Trade agreements were rewritten to include humanitarian clauses. Military doctrines were revised to eliminate any tactics that could be considered genocidal. The galaxy had learned simple lesson. Humanity's capacity for both creation and destruction far exceeded anything previously encountered. The same species capable of incredible art, science, and compassion was equally capable of becoming an extinction-level threat when pushed too far. Earth's black ships now patrolled the stars, silent guardians ensuring that the entertainment of genocide would never occur again. And in the darkness of space, other civilizations whispered fearfully about the species that had turned righteous anger into perfect justice. The galaxy was a safer place, but it was also a more frightening one. Now that everyone knew what happened to those who made entertainment from the deaths of innocents,